Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Talk Spicy. I am Coach Gene Clemens. Thank you for joining me wherever you are joining me. Rate the show, comment, agree, disagree, but whatever you do, keep it spicy. 5-star ratings are appreciated. If you're joining me on the YouTube channel, you know what to do. Thank you to all my followers on YouTube. We are officially over 2,000 subscribers, and we appreciate every single one of you. I always say we. I think because every time I've ever learned anything about journalism, it's been a situation where you're discussing the station as a whole or the entity as a whole, and there is no entity as a whole. It's just me. So I appreciate everybody who follows me now. Took a couple of days off at the end of the week. Really busy end of the week for me last week, but I am back and ready to go and excited about um, sports. Excited about everything. NFL is in full swing. That's crazy. College is crazy. My FBS group of 5 picks have been awful. Not well, I shouldn't say that. They haven't actually been that bad, but because I'm picking against the spread, it's been awful. Um, and that's to be expected. If anybody will tell you, trying to predict the group of 5 over the power 5 is so much more difficult because the talent level between the top teams in the group of 5 and the teams who are not really a factor in the group of 5 is not that different. Cincinnati does not have just superior talent to some of the other teams in the AAC. They just happen to be better. But if you went talent for talent on the team, a lot of those teams don't have a lot of difference. And so it makes it a lot more difficult to figure out who has the advantage. Do you look at coaching? Do you look at scheme? Do you look at home field advantage versus being away? I think you put all of that into play. And I've just been unlucky in some cases. Like you take an Air Force to come out and play well and get a hard fought victory. They get off to a really bad start. You pick another team, they have 5 turnovers in the game, and still it's a close game, but they lose by a point, or they win, but they don't cover the spread. That's why it's fun. And I don't feel bad about like being wrong, because that's what you do. That's how you get better. In order to succeed, you have to at points fail. And boy, there have been some weeks where I've been failing, but I'll be right back at it. So make sure that you catch that article on The Athletic on Wednesdays when it comes out. NFL is interesting to me because the NFL is way easier to predict, but that's not my job with The Athletic. Super easy to predict games when you look at some of these spreads. Like if you were in the afternoon bracket and you saw the Buccaneers game and you saw the Cardinals game, you knew both of those games were going to be blowouts. You knew both of those games were going to be blowouts. Both teams do something well that the opposition does not do. Whenever you have that situation where one team does something well that the other team does not do, you know it's going to be an issue. For instance, the Kansas City Chiefs, they don't defend the run well. Tennessee Titans come in as the best running team in football. Well, guess what's going to happen? Tennessee is probably going to win. But when you looked at the point spread, Kansas City was the favorite because Vegas was probably saying, hey, people are going to think, oh, well, Kansas City is going to be able to score against a bad Titans defense. Well, what happens when you're trying to overcompensate? So Kansas City was trying to overcompensate for the fact they're not good against the run by really wholesale selling out to the run. And it worked. They were able to hold Derrick Henry under 100 yards. But the passing game had one-on-ones all over the place, and they were winning. And so they were able to put up massive amounts of points. That's what happens. That's football. But it's easier to predict in the NFL. And it's easier to predict when you're talking about the Power Five teams. You can just find the dominant teams. You could also find the teams that are really bad or at least marginally bad, and then just set up your bets to go against them all the time. But that group of five, man, and FCS as well, because I've done it for FCS in the spring, and I hope to one day do it again. Being able to write about that. So that gets difficult as well. The funny thing about the NFL, though, from a fan's perspective, is if your opinion on things a lot of times gets swayed by the way that you consume the media surrounding the team. So if you're a Jets follower, you'll see things about Zach Wilson that makes you think he has a chance to turn the corner, because the way in which the media shapes the narrative behind his struggles makes it seem as if his struggles are not really his fault. You haven't seen anybody call for Zach Wilson to be benched. You haven't really heard anybody call or say that Zach Wilson is an absolute bust as a pick. Nobody is willing to throw the towel in on Zach Wilson this early. Trevor Lawrence has not been good. He's had good moments. My guy CJ, Chris James, make sure you follow him at CJ Florida 9. He says that, Trevor Lawrence has turned the corner a little bit. I'm not sure he's turned the corner. I think he's played better in the last week, maybe two, but I think one of them really wasn't him playing better. It was the other team just being super conservative because they had already won the game. So I think that he's played better. I'm not ready to say he's turned the corner because he played well against what is being proved to be not a very good Miami Dolphins team. So there's that. Trevor Lawrence hasn't been good, but nobody's talking about him being benched. Everybody's blaming Urban Meyer. Oh, he's not this. He's not that. Man, listen. Urban Meyer is a great football coach. Not a good football coach, a great football coach. And just because his quarterback's not playing great and his quarterback was considered to be the most can't-miss prospect since Andrew Luck, a guy who struggled in the NFL. I mean, maybe you guys maybe you overhyped him, which is okay because you overhype almost every quarterback like him ever. In New England, Mac Jones has been pedestrian. He has been the definition of a check down Charlie. He has been underwhelming. The only time he's looked good is in games versus teams who are terrible. Not bad, terrible. In games versus teams who are confident, who are competent, he's looked meh. In games versus teams who are good, he's looked bad. Nobody is calling for him. Everybody's praising him. Somebody had the nerve to say that man deserved to be rookie of the year, offensive rookie of the year, like Chase, like my man Chase doesn't exist in Cincinnati. Oh, well, he made sure people knew his name after his performance versus the Baltimore Ravens. But I say that about those quarterbacks to say this. When you see the narrative around Jalen Hurts be, oh, well, he should get benched. The experiment is over. And he hasn't even started a full season. It's laughable. And it's also sad. When you see somebody like Justin Fields, and you see narratives be put out, oh, well, he just can't read a defense. Oh, and Zach Wilson can? Never heard anybody say anything about Zach Wilson not being able to read a defense, even though it's clear Zach Wilson can't read a defense. It's clear Mac Jones can't read the defense because guys are butt naked down the field and he's throwing it to a running back or he's throwing it to a wide receiver underneath on a shallow crossing route. It's clear Trevor Lawrence is having issues reading defenses because he's not having that success passing the ball either. So why is it with Justin Fields, it's a can't read the defense? With Jalen Hurts, it's he just doesn't have that high IQ. Why does the situation seem to be one where the narratives behind these other quarterbacks, Fields and Hurts, and again, I put Hurts in the rookie category because he only played a few games last year, and it was for a different coach. And so, like, a lot of times what we're hearing is people say dumb stuff like, oh, well, they just may not be it. Really? Already? Well, if they're not it, guess what? Zach Wilson's not it. If they're not it, then Trevor Lawrence is not it. If they're not it, then Mac Jones is not it. But the narrative is different. The narrative is different. Sam Darnold showed us who he was in New York. We blamed the Jets. We blamed the Jets organization. We said it was dysfunctional. So then he went to Carolina. They got rid of Teddy Bridgewater. The Carolina, they got rid of Cam Newton. And they said, oh, well, Sam Darnold's our guy. Gave him that extra year on that rookie deal. Locked themselves into him. Started off like gangbusters. Couple of really good games. But then we started seeing signs of Sam Darnold being Sam Darnold. And I sat back and I watched as nobody said a word. Nobody said a word until the culmination of him getting benched in yet another game when he's been horrible. This is the guy that Terry Bradshaw said has a chance to be the greatest quarterback in Carolina Panthers history. The same Carolina Panthers who had Cam Newton on it. The most unique and indestructible force to ever play quarterback in the NFL. But in Denver, Teddy Bridgewater, who has never in his entire life come close to having a game as horrible as Sam Darnold has had over the last couple of weeks, they're already ready to move on because it's his fault that the defense can't stop anybody. Somehow the quarterback is being blamed for defenses being horrible. Somehow the quarterback is being blamed for defenses not getting stops. But it only happens with certain quarterbacks. It's a bad look. It's a bad look. And it's a bad precedent to set. Because everybody could just be evaluated equally. If Zach Wilson's throwing 1 million interceptions, which he is, wouldn't you say he's probably having trouble reading defenses? Or at least at work, at the best, his decision-making is questionable. No, we don't hear any of that. But we hear that with Justin Fields, who is out there running for his life, with Jalen Hurts, who's out there running for his life. I get it. It's all good. Don't worry about it. I'll hold it. I don't want to keep long on this 75th anniversary in the NBA 75 list. I can't get into who all of the people who should and all of the people who should not. It's a subjective list, obviously. Here's the thing I will say about these lists. The one thing I don't like, if you make the list, that should not mean that you are automatically on this list forever. The list should not build. The list should refurbish. So just because Reggie Miller was on the list at one point in time doesn't necessarily mean Reggie Miller should be on the list forever. Because if guys come along who are just better than Reggie Miller, then they should be acknowledged. You can't say, oh, well, in his time he was, because now you're going to say, now you're essentially devaluing the player who has come along and surpassed Reggie Miller. It's like your Mount Rushmore. Your Mount Rushmore doesn't have to be the same Mount Rushmore forever. If you're saying I'm going to make a Mount Rushmore of NBA players, and you're going to put a center on there and a forward and a guard and a point guard, or you're just going to put two big men and two guards on there, then you're going to have to make a decision. Do I put Kareem Abdul-Jabbar on there because he played in a time where he was dominant and, you know, he played for an extremely long time? Or am I going to put on Shaq? Am I going to keep Bill Russell on there because he's the winningest? He's the winningest player of all time. Or am I going to put Shaq in his place or Tim Duncan in his place? Like, at some point, you're going to have to make those decisions. And it's okay to say, hey, listen, I know that Bill Russell was good. But at 6'8" in today's NBA, he would not be able to guard Shaq. It's okay to say that. It's okay to realistically say Bill Russell had the body frame of Dennis Rodman. It's okay to say that. It's okay to say that Kyrie Irving is a better basketball player than Damian Lillard. If you want to say Damian Lillard is more clutch, cool. If you want to say that Damian Lillard has done it all in one place, cool. But it seems to me that we are looking at these players in a way that I just don't understand. If Kyrie Irving is considered to be one of the greatest ball handlers and one of the greatest finishers, one of the most innovative guys with the ball in his hands ever, how is he not on a 75 team? Why? Because you don't like him. If Dwight Howard has been all NBA more times, if he has MVPs, if he's taken a team to a finals, if he has a chip, then why isn't he on the 75 list? Because you don't like him. The same reason why Isaiah Thomas wasn't on the Dream Team is the same reason why you leave some of these great NBA players of today, and maybe even, really more of today, is because you don't like them. And some of these players get a bump because you like them, because of what they've done after their career. Like, I really believe that people look at Kenny Smith and think that Kenny Smith was probably better than what he was. And Kenny Smith was good, but Kenny Smith is not a legend on the basketball court, not at least in the NBA. You can't take away what he accomplished with his team, but he's not a legend. I hear people talking about Klay Thompson. Oh, Klay Thompson needs to be on the 75 list. And my answer to that is why? If you're the number 2 guy on a team, does that really warrant you being on the 75 list if you as a number 2 are not the best number 2 to ever do it? See, the reason why I give Scottie Pippen a pass as being a part of these really great, lists is because Scottie Pippen, in my mind, was the best number 2 to ever do it. He's the best Robin ever. And that matters. Is Klay Thompson the best Robin ever? I don't know. But here's what I do know. He has a chance to be that. Depending upon what else he does in his career, he has a chance to be that. And the problem is when the 100 comes around and Reggie Miller is there, he's going to be on the list, even though there's a good chance that Klay Thompson, as a small forward, will have usurped the career of Reggie Miller as a small forward. That, to me, means Reggie Miller should probably be replaced if it's close. If the slots are going down. So I think when we're talking about who should or should not be on these lists, we have to remember, take emotion out of it. And then don't be afraid to tell somebody who was on the list before, hey, listen, people have passed you by. Ladies and gentlemen, that has been Talk Spicy. I'm Coach Gene Clemens. We do this thing a few times a week. Rate the show, comment, agree, disagree, but whatever you do, keep it spicy. 5-star ratings are appreciated. If you're joining me on the YouTube channel, you know what to do. We'll see you tomorrow. Peace.